lesson plan that I wrote. It's called M&M Subtraction. It's for kindergarten students. Cultural contributions associated with this lesson. Actually, subtraction has been around forever. The word subtract came from the Latin word subtractus, which was formed around 1530 to 1540. Accommodations for learning disabilities and special needs. If students have visual disabilities, they can sit closer to me in the classroom so they can see the book. Otherwise, we can also use an overhead projector to make it bigger on the wall so they can see it better. Other things are the kinesthetic learners will be able to use the M&Ms when doing the activities. The auditory learners will be able to hear me reading the book. And the visual learners will again be able to see the book, which is right here. It's called the M&M Counting Book. Standards addressed with this lesson. Mathematics Common Core standards are KOA.A.1, which says represent addition and subtraction with objects, fingers, mental images, drawings, sounds, like claps, acting out situations, verbal explanations, expressions, or equations. And the objective that goes with that I wrote was the student will be able to correctly demonstrate to the teacher two subtraction situations using the M&Ms, and I'll explain more about that when we get to the end. The English standard that I used with this lesson is the integration of knowledge and ideas, Common Core State Standard R1.K.7, which says, with prompting and support, describe the relationships between illustrations and the text in which they appear. And the objective that comes along with that is the student will be able to listen to the text and look at the illustrations in the M&M Counting Book and follow given instructions to place, add, subtract M&Ms correctly according to the information obtained from the text and illustrations. Formative assessments are just the teacher walking around the classroom and making sure the students are understanding what they're supposed to be doing and doing it, and following the directions in the books and the text and the illustrations with what they're doing. Summative evaluations. For the math one is each student will individually demonstrate two subtraction situations to the teacher using the M&Ms. And for the language literacy one, while reading the book, the teacher will walk around and watch the students to make sure that they're understanding what the text and the illustrations are saying with their M&Ms. Materials needed are this book. This is very important. The M&M Counting Book by Barbara McGrath and M&Ms. Of course, you'll probably need a lot more. Probably 30 or 40 M&Ms at least for each student. Give or take some. You'll need small cups or bowls to put the M&Ms in, some blank paper for note-taking for the teacher, pens, paper towels to put on their desk so that they don't put the M&Ms on their dirty desk. And we will, learning styles, of course you have your visual with the visual text, auditory with the reading of the text, they'll be able to hear it. Spatial, the students will arrange their M&Ms on their desk and make different shapes and such. Bodily kinesthetic, they'll be able to move their bodies and move the M&Ms. Interpersonal, students will have the opportunity to work with other students in comparing and contrasting some of their work. Intrapersonal, they will also have the opportunity to work individually. Linguistic, the text provides words that will be read, and then the students will also be using words in a summative evaluation to explain what they're learning. Logical, mathematical, the whole lesson is about mathematics and counting and addition and subtraction. Alright, we will go into the lesson. The lessons will start, the anticipatory set is actually just the beginning of the book. And the first page says, pour out your candies, get ready, get set. This counting book is the tastiest yet. And then it starts with just colors, and it goes over the colors and asks the students to get out. And then it starts counting 1 blue, 2 green, 3 orange, and the students will place those out on their paper towel each time they're asked. And then it goes up to 6 brown, and you keep those brown. And then you have your 6 brown, and you add 1 with each page. And as I'm reading this, I'll say, add a blue to make, and then I'll have the students count and tell me what the answer would be. And this is the standard for mathematical practice number 2, which is reason abstractly and quantitatively, and I'll do that throughout the thing. Another standard for mathematical practice that will be used is number 5, standard for mathematical practice number 5, use appropriate tools strategically, which would be the M&Ms. They'll use strategically. So we'll go through and I'll keep having them fill in the blank by counting the M&Ms. They'll add 1 and then count them, and then add 1 and then count them until they get up to 12. And the next couple pages are about sets, and I'm actually recommended in my lesson to just skip those pages because unless the students are fluent in sets, the counting and the addition was actually the anticipatory set. So the students, that should be a review for all the students, that they've already learned that. And some more of the anticipatory set in a review kind of is these shapes. And once they have the 12 M&Ms, I will close the book and I will encourage them to make a square out of their 12 M&Ms. Then I will ask them to work with a partner and to compare and contrast the square that they made to see what was different and the same. And this will fulfill standard for mathematical practice number 1, which is make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. This problem is making a square out of the 12 M&Ms. And then they'll work to solve them, and then they'll work with others in doing it. Which, working with the others, pertains to standard for mathematical practice number 3, which is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. And they'll critique the reasoning of their partner when comparing and contrasting their shapes. We will do that with the square, and then I will show them, what the book says of the square. And then I'll have them work on a circle, and then compare and contrast. Then I'll show them the circle, and have them compare it to the book. Then we'll do the triangle in the same manner. And then we go to subtraction. And this is when I'll really, start to explain, okay, let's count our M&Ms. If you eat 1, you take 1 away. How many are left? And again, I'll have them fill in the blank with those. And then they'll eat. This one, it has them eat the blue one. And then I will I will have the students take notice of the subtraction equation here too. And then they eat all the brown ones, and I'll encourage them to count the brown ones before they eat them. Count them all to see how many they have, and then count how many brown ones they have, and then count how many they have left over. And we'll do that until we have 0. And that would be the end of the book. I will then have students work individually to make up their own little sentences in their head and to work with the M&M manipulatives to get that subtraction. I will model it first with like 5 M&Ms, and then be like, okay, I have 5 M&Ms. I'm going to eat these 3, eat them. Now I have 2 left. I will encourage students to do that. I will go from desk to desk to make sure that they're getting that concept, and ask them to do it twice for me to make sure they're getting that. As a closure, after the students, I've gone through all the students and done that, and I've walked around and taken note of what students are showing that they understand the text and illustrations. That was a summative evaluation too. They showed the text and illustrations by demonstrating it with their M&Ms, and I'll make notes of that for that summative evaluation. The other summative evaluation was the 2 mathematical subtraction situations that they would explain to me. Once I've gotten all that done, we'll come back together and we'll talk about, I'll ask the students what other situations they could use the subtraction concept in, and if they're not able to come up with them, I will ask, I will kind of prompt them and be like, okay, let's say I had $3, and then I give so-and-so $1. how many dollars do I have left? And if I need a visual, I'll use my fingers, $3. I gave so-and-so $1, how many do I have left? And we'll try to use some real other world examples to tie into the subtraction so they're able to take that on. And I can kind of tie it with future learning. Thank you.